Hello, this is Dawn, and I'm with Astrology and Tarot Alchemy, and I'm here today with Elizabeth, and she is with True to It Connections, and that's at True to
At
It
True to It.
is your channel on YouTube, correct? Is that
It
right?
is. And TikTok, yes.
And TikTok, yes. Okay. And we are both a part of the spiritual view, and we will both be involved. You'll see us coming up on different, because we don't know when you're going to be viewing this. You will see us coming up at different times on the spiritual view. We take turns doing daily reads Monday through Friday, and then we have our special monthly, and those are pretty in a timely manner. So it's kind of related to the topics that are going on around time. So I wanted to really cover some basic astrology, and lest I forget, we're also a part of the Soulful Revolution tarot thing for everyone. So we are
Yeah.
also tarot readers. So we will have links available for YouTube book tarot with any of us from the spiritual view, and also information on both of our channels if you want to watch us on YouTube. So getting down to the astrology of what's going on right now, let me pull up some information so we can just take a quick review on what's currently going on with the April
All right,
astrology.
let's buckle up, everybody. I'm so excited. You're gonna look at my chart.
So this is the Mars-Neptune conjunction. Now, on a previous spiritual view, we covered the fact at the earlier part of April, we had Mercury go retrograde, and that was on April 1st. And then we had that magnificent eclipse that was on the 8th. 2 days after that, we had Mars conjunct Saturn. And now we're going to be talking about the second half of April, where we're going to have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And I'm just going to touch briefly on that because I'll probably do more with that with the spiritual view. But there's a reason I'm kind of focusing on Mars and Neptune right now, as because of intention setting. And then we're going to touch on the very end of April, because that'll tie into any intention setting and people that are doing maps out there. And also
Treasure maps, everybody.
treasure maps,
We'll get there, but yeah, just a little
right,
reminder.
right, treasure maps, and setting up the next 2 years for what you're going to be doing. So let's take a look. Initially, this is going to be on April 28th. We have Mars and Neptune conjunct in Pisces right here. So they're both at 28 degrees. Now, what had happened earlier is Mars was conjunct Saturn at 14 degrees. So we had Mercury retrograde, then the eclipse. Now, this was about us starting something brand new because the eclipse was in Aries. And then we had Mars and Saturn, which are Mars is getting things done, and Saturn is the guidelines in how to get it done. Saturn can't really control Mars. It's if it tried to like block it in, Mars would just bust out of it. But they will work together if you are allowing Mars to have movement, and you don't put the sign blocks too tightly as you go forward. This is a 2-year transit that takes place. It takes 2 years before Mars and Saturn will be meeting up again. And the same is going to be true of this conjunction here, the 28-degree Neptune and Mars, because Mars is going to be the active thing going on right here. Mars takes 2 years to get around. So what we are planning on or dreaming about, that we were thinking about with Mercury being retrograde, we're still thinking about it. And we know that we want to start something new, but Mercury was retrograde at the eclipse. And then the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction is that divine inspiration that you're going to be getting as to what you want to do. What more do I want to do? What more do I want to add to it? Innovations that we can't even think about, and ways that we'll be using tools in the future for our jobs that we can't even imagine. So you have that great inspiration. And then you have Mars meeting up with Neptune at that conjunction. And that is Mars giving push to Neptune, which needs something to activate it. And that is about us making our dreams come true. That's having that 2-year push. Saturn is going to give us the plan. Saturn will give us the plan for that, but we can dream up anything that we want. And if you look at the house that that Pisces is for you in your natal chart, that's the area that you can really take a look at and set those intentions for. And depending upon what else your natal chart says, we'll take a look at Elizabeth's natal chart and how this looks for her in her chart later on. But what we see right here is that we are going to have Mars and Neptune conjunct so that that dream that we always wanted is going to be possible, because Saturn's going to help us make it so.
That's amazing. Can I ask you a quick question? With the
Yes.
Mars-Saturn conjunction, am I right in saying we can feel some push and pull and a little, a little bit of roadblocks, but we just push through it, right, Dawn?
Right. And a lot of times that is Mars and Saturn is someone saying your foot is on the brake and your foot is on the gas. Well, we know which one is the gas, Mars, and Saturn would be the brake, because Saturn is sets up restrictions, but Saturn is also the thing that makes things long lasting.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at love in your natal chart, you want to see when you have a relationship developing with someone, Saturn showing up in that chart with that love connection means there's longevity to that relationship.
Ah, well said. Well said.
So the fact that you have Saturn and Mars together, and the other thing that we need to do is allow Mars to have some, especially physical release, especially coming up through the summer, because right now Mars is it is feeling some of the restriction of Saturn. But what is really beneficial to this whole thing about setting a goal is that this 2-year goal setting, you're just going to take a bite at a time. It's like setting a daily or a weekly habit. Okay, I want to learn something and I've got 2 years in which to do it, so I don't have to do it all at one time. And that's really how Saturn works really, really well. Mars is going to help you get it done. Saturn is going to keep you doing it. So if you have a long-term goal, so say that Pisces is in your 6th house, that could be you, that's a health house. So that could be you setting a goal for your health, or it also can be your everyday habits, you setting an everyday habit or a regular habit that you would continue on, and then it would become a part of your life. That's that longevity of Saturn.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool too. So many people have usually I'll set, excuse me, 5-year goals, but looking at this, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna operate in a 2-year time frame now.
Exactly.
It's my goal
Exactly.
plan. So that's
Yeah.
that is a smaller chunk of
Time. Yeah. And
the baby steps. Gotcha.
baby steps. And that's the perfect way to say it, is like it's baby steps. You don't have to, if you're going to set a
Long
really
lasting.
you're with your health and everything, it's like, okay, what little change can I make today? Maybe I'll decide not to have ice cream today. That's just the decision for today. But then if you make that decision often enough, that adds up. It's not all the time. You don't feel like you're super deprived because it's a longevity type thing.
Absolutely.
And the same goes with if you're starting an exercise regimen, or in some people's cases, if it's in the 10th house, it could be something that's business, you want to set a goal for your business in the next 2 years. So, you have to have so many steps that you have to take care of, but you have to do them in order, right?
Yes.
And you still have to have the energy to start the next one. And that's what Mars brings, is that energy.
Awesome.
And in a lot of mundane astrology, which is the astrology that's out there in the world, there's a lot of bad publicity. I can't even say it today. Publicity. You can tell Mercury's still retrograde.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of war and there's a lot of
Right.
things going on out there. And I think there's things that are going to be true of that. There's a lot of mundane astrology that's going to be affecting everybody in the future.
Mhm.
But your personal chart is your personal chart. And a lot of times that can be completely different as to what's going on in the mundane world. You know, you're like vibrationally different. You're not fighting
Yes.
everybody out there. You're like, you know, I'm learning my stuff. I'm making a point of going with the flow and following astrology in a way that I can surf the energy instead of fighting against it.
Right. It's not about using it as a, to feed the drama, but to help you learn and grow.
Right,
Absolutely. There is
right.
a tendency to put a lot of drama into this, and it's out there in the world, but with your own chart, it's about learning to appreciate all this that's within us.
Right. And Pisces being on the lower level of Pisces, that's very much feeling sorry for yourself on the lower vibration of it. But the higher vibration of it is being connected to your higher self
Mm,
or being very spiritual. And this can be about a spiritual practice. And that can be something as simple as I want to get out into nature and take a hike every week. It can be something as simple as that. And that is
absolutely.
a really wonderful spiritual practice to get started because it's been proven scientifically that you can just decrease your blood pressure by walking in nature.
Absolutely.
So,
I 100% agree. And when we talked before on the spiritual view, and I spoke about morning grief and all that stuff, exercise and getting that energy out, the anxiety out that way. Woo, 100% believe in that.
well, and with Mars and Saturn too, I think the other thing that we have to think about is that they're such strong planets. There's such strong energy, and they're considered they're called the malefics.
Yeah.
But really, these are the things that really get
Drive.
us where we want to be. It's
Or,
what happens in our chart that helps us grow. And I think if you use it in the sense of I'm going to work with the energies instead of working against the energies,
yes,
and you will see a lot of astrologers out there talking about this very thing. If you expect the worst, you'll get the worst.
absolutely.
If you put more of, I know this is something that I can work with, and this is how I'm going to set those goals, then you're working with that energy and that energy will work for you. Because I think this is a tremendous time to be able to set a goal in your personal life in what area of your chart it's showing up in and
It's-
have something great happen at the end of 2 years. Because with Saturn, if you put in the work, you get the reward.
I'm so excited because, they don't know yet. They don't know yet. I'm having a Saturn return and I was very freaked out, but now I'm not. I'm
No,
hopeful. I'm
it,
hopeful, and that's why it's great to work with Dawn, people who are very educated in this, very well versed in this, so you don't just look at your chart and freak out.
well,
Because
so
Saturn only comes around every 28 years. So,
right,
these
right,
are intense moments. So, now
right.
y'all are
And
gonna know my age and everything.
well, and this what we've been talking about so far is the fact that we're in that planning stage right now.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you when the launch part comes
Okay.
because we have some really nice energies that's coming up in the next 2 weeks that then takes this thought and this planning and then proceeds to move it forward. And it's really beautiful energy. So let me just start with the fact that, okay, we know that on the 20th, we have Jupiter and Uranus going conjunct in Taurus, right? They're going to be conjunct at 21 degrees of Taurus. So think about where that is in your chart. And again, we always do what is the opposition to that and what is the square to that. So those would be in the fixed signs. So if you look at your own natal chart, you will see how that might be affecting you if you have anything around those degrees. Anything else in the other signs should be beneficial energy for you, either like a sextile or a trine. And that's easy flowing energy. But the energy that'll make you work harder is the opposition and the squares. So I would be paying attention to that first in your chart because then you're going to think, okay, how am I going to work with that energy as it comes up and what planet is that? and what sign is it in and what house is it in. And that's something that you can look at in your own chart. So let's take a look at,
I totally
this
agree
is
with
that,
that too, because this is a 1 in 14 years.
yes,
So
yes,
definitely something to look at.
right. Because the Jupiter return, when Jupiter returns to the same place it was in your birth chart, that takes 12 years, but it takes a little while for it to catch up with Uranus, because Uranus takes 85 years to go completely around
So
in the
this is
cycle. So yeah, this is it. So
a rare moment. Yeah.
yeah, this, and to have these things all lining up within a matter of 2 weeks, it's like it's setting things up perfectly to be able to manifest with intention setting what you want. If you especially if you know the areas of life that it will work out in.
Yes. I love the way you put this because, people put a negative spin on this, but you're just doing such a beautiful job of
Well,
bringing
thank
the
you.
light to it.
So this is where the fun part comes in. So the very next thing that's going to be happening after that April 20th conjunction is we do have Mercury going direct finally on the 25th. So instead of going backwards now, Mercury will turn and start forward, and she has to go, or he, it can be either, moves forward now. It will be recovering areas that it has been in already. So it will be going back over Chiron, another opportunity for healing. So bear that in mind. So there's other things, to me, that's when the start of us being able to do that manifesting part, because Mercury is now moving forward. And Mercury made you think of how to revise that plan. How do I want to do this? How do I want to change things? That's what that Mercury retrograde was all about, making you think about those things in Aries, right? For your own well-being and self. This is for you. This is
Absolutely. And now we get to communicate it.
right, right. Now you set the plan in place, and now you can work with other people as well. That's always a great thing, working with other people to get your goals going. It's a 2-year thing. It's something that you'll be able to share with other people. So after Mercury goes direct, and that is on the 25th, we have Venus on April 29th. Venus is going to be moving into Taurus, which is her home sign, that she's in the rulership of Taurus. So she's going to enter. So Venus, one of the benefics, is here, and it's going to help. It's going to help us. And eventually later on in that month, Venus is going to join up with both the sun and Jupiter. I believe she meets Jupiter first, and then she joins up with the sun.
Okay.
So she's going to be joining with all three of these things, right? The sun and Uranus and Jupiter.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So that is, that's more we'll be talking about, definitely be talking about all of those things.
In the summer.
Yeah, in May, actually. It's
Thanks,
coming up really quickly. It's going to be wonderful. So then after that, this is the thing that is going to be our go time. We're going to have Aries. We're going to have Mars moving into Aries on April 30th. So you have Taurus, which is getting Venus as the rulership. And now you're having Mars coming into 0 degrees of Aries, and Mars rules Aries. So it's going to start moving through here. And this is where you set your plan in motion. I've thought about it. I've dreamt about it. I've manifested it. Neptune can be about manifestation. And now it's go time. Venus is there to help me out with anything that you might have in that house. Plus, if you have these planets activated at all, you'll have further help with manifestation later on in May. We will discuss that, I know for sure, on when we do the spiritual view.
Yeah,
So
looking
these
forward
are,
to that.
yeah, so we need to spread that out because there's a lot of information here. But this is go time. This is absolutely go time on April 30th. So May 1st, you should be ready to rock and roll.
I love that. So
So
optimistic and inspiring too. Okay.
it's a great opportunity. It truly is. So what I want to do is take a look at Elizabeth's chart so you can see how that looks like in somebody's personal chart. So let me take a look. I use whole sign houses. So I did have to explain a little bit for Elizabeth at the very beginning. What was the highlights for her this year? And
I'm used to Placidus, so this is so exciting, you guys.
So she is with the whole sign house system. It's a very ancient Greek technique. She is in the 10th house perfection year based on her age. So Mars is activated in her chart because Mars rules this particular house. So for her, this is highlighting her career and Mars is activated. So everything that Mars is currently doing, she can use that in planning her future career, her future business, all of those things. The other thing that I found really interesting about her chart is she's coming up on her Saturn return. I'm going to hit the transits here
Yes.
so you can see what this looks like. So in her chart, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it a little bit better.
That's great.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect.
that's
Thank you.
great, Dawn. I love that. Good job.
Yes, I'm technologically challenged, so my sons would be very
Oh, look at you go.
right at this moment. So we were talking about Mars and Neptune being conjuncted 28 degrees. This is above, right on top of her natal Saturn in her natal chart. So she's getting that extra juice. Not only did she have Mars hitting this because Mars was activated, she's having Mars activating Neptune and activating her natal Saturn. So again, she's got this extra oomph about setting those goals
I do.
and the longevity of it. And the nice thing about Mars,
100%.
yeah,
That's
and her having Mars activated, when it moves into Aries, which is a house that it rules. Now, this is in her third house. The third house can be siblings, your local community, and small business. So again, that ties in with this 10th house, right? And Aries is also ruled by Mars. So anything moving through this house in because Mars also rules this house is being active in her chart. So as Mars starts to move through here, it will also go over the North Node. So that'll be another boost for her when that happens in, I would say, I'm trying to think of when that would be, more like early May, late April, early May, that it will definitely hit up with the North Node. And it'll also go over Chiron before it continues on. It's going to be moving very quickly through Aries. Normally it takes about 45 days, and it's probably going to cut about 7 days off of that. This time through, it's going to be very quick going through that particular house, but it's going to empower that house, and that house is active, and that planet is active for Elizabeth. So how have you been feeling the past couple months? Because you already have that activation that happened for you on the 10th. So how was that in your world?
Well, it's a little bit like what's happening right now. My dog is making, she decided to play with her toy. I don't know how to make her stop. You guys, I'm just gonna talk over this. So I haven't been able to sleep, been a little rowdy, I must say, but I'm all about manifesting, making these things come true. It is about my 2-year goals. Everything you're saying. I'm gonna mute myself for a second.
Okay, let me go ahead. And there's other things going on in her chart that I found very interesting. Um, with with Mars being activated and it moving through this Aries sign, she has what's going to be a grand water trine in her chart. So you have Mars and Neptune, and they're at 28 degrees. So Mars is activating her Saturn right here. But guess what? Her sun is at 25 degrees over here. So this is a trine to her daily habits. This can be daily habits for health. This can be where you work. Again, we're bringing in her having her job or work being highlighted at this time. So
Yes.
this also goes to the 25 degrees of her MC up here. So what she's known for in the world, which is in this highlighted house. So you're going to have a grand water trine. 25-degree MC. You also have Neptune here, 19 degrees, going to 28 and 29 degrees down here. Her natal Chiron is also located in this area. And it's all easy flowing energy because it's the trine, it's the 120 degrees. So it moves, this is going to be very easy, free flowing energy for her. So that'll help take some of the roughness out of that huge Saturn energy that she's getting,
Yes.
especially
Yes.
being in a Saturn return right now. So Um,
I was worried about that, but now I just feel so much better.
well,
Let
and
this on.
yeah, it's not as Saturn returns are not as scary, especially if you've been doing the work. That's
For
the easiest way
sure.
to say that.
And I agree. My first one, obviously it was good and bad. They're good and bad. They're definite times in your life, because it only happens a couple, 2, 3 times if you're lucky. So um there's always good and bad with it. And in your late 20s, lots of changes. So it's interesting to see what comes with the next one. So I'm glad to know that this is just to know the energy of your own chart and really have someone explain it like you are is just such a gift
Well,
to
thank you.
understand yourself.
And
Yeah.
I do like that it's showing this grand water trine because this is all going to be very activated energy, right? So I think that this for the next 2 years for you, this is where it's going to be highlighting your career.
Okay. I'm
Yep.
ready.
Definitely
Yes,
highlighting.
I'm available on soulfulrevolutiontv.com.
We will be placing, yes, we'll be placing all that information
I was kidding.
down in the notes actually, because we both work there. We both do cards.
Yes,
So
yes. We're both concentrating on our careers and stuff because we also have the same birthday. Mhm.
yes, I completely forgot to mention that we did not know this until about what, 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
that, that we were both born on July 18th, different years, but we were both born on July 18th. It's like, no. So she was actually born on a new moon,
Yes.
and I was at 18 hours after new moon, and I was actually born 18 hours after a lunar eclipse. So it was a full moon eclipse that I was born after, and she was the new moon. So it's very funny.
And looking at our moons, how they were opposite too. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
My moon is actually in Aquarius at 6 degrees, and her moon is in Leo at 7. So it's yeah, we have some very interesting things going on. We were looking at our synastry charts a little earlier and just kind of laughing at all the like little synchronicities that happen in the
So
chart. So
amazing. It's beautiful.
well, and the other thing I want to take a look at, and let me just change this a little bit. Is there any date that you want to think of in particular that you might want to look at in the future as these things come up, Liz?
Wow. Um, Let me look at my notes about astrology.
I'm going to just pull up May 20th and see how that.
I was actually thinking the same thing, and I'm not kidding. I was gonna say the 10th. There goes my dog again, everybody. Dog lovers in the house. Squeaky toy. But you're the conference the 10th. So I said in my mind the 20th. So yeah, let's look at that. And I'll
Okay.
mute the dog.
Okay. So this is May 20th, and this is some of the amazing things that are going to be happening at the end of the month. So I think it's the 23rd that you're going to have, um, yeah, Venus. I think it's a little bit earlier than that. I think it's the 18th. So let me go back and sneak on that because I think that's such a cool date. I believe it's the 18th. Let me do this. That's when we have like this double beautiful thing, which we'll be covering on the spiritual view at some point, where you have Venus and Uranus conjunct, and you'll have the Sun and Jupiter conjunct on the same day in Taurus. And Mercury will have entered Taurus at that time. So this is another opportunity to take what you've set in motion and move it forward. Then you're going to be having Jupiter for all of the air signs. Jupiter is going to be entering Gemini. And this is nice for Liz because it's going to be entering her house of joy, right? So, and eventually Mars will be coming in to that house as well. And Mars will be meeting up with Jupiter in that house for her.
What do
So
you think I should
that's,
expect with a Mars Jupiter conjunction?
well, I think it's one of those things. If it's not only the fifth house is also joy, your
Yes.
hobbies, the things that light you up. And depending on what else it's connecting with at the time in your chart. So depending upon what the degrees are, and this, if it's, the early degrees where it might be trining your ascendant, or if there's something right now, there's not anything up in the ninth house indicating travel, but you could do, it could be, you might travel a short distance because Mars is here in the third house, which can be short distance travel. So there's things that can come up. So you might be taking a short trip for usually shorter distance travel is driving with a car within about 8 hours of your home location. That's any longer than that would be more the ninth house, or flying would be the ninth house. Also, automobiles, things like that. It just depends on what's going on in the person's life at the time. Because the houses can mean so many different things that as an astrologer, that's where you start to fine tune what's going on in that person's life. So you always are talking with the person that you're reading their chart to find out, okay, this is the house that's activated. What are the things that are associated with that house that are going on with you? And for Liz, it was all this energy regarding with the business that she is working on expanding. So this works out perfectly in her chart, and she can utilize all these energies that are going to be going on. So I am going to switch the chart to our friend Jen because it's a good example of something in the chart being very.
Thank you, by the way, for doing that. It's just so insightful.
Well, and with hers, because one of the unique things that I noticed when I was using your two charts for comparison is that she's also got Scorpio highlighted this year, but that's her ninth house. So for her, it could be related things to more about travel, foreign things, foreign travel, higher education. I've had people that have the ninth house activated and they were going back to school. And also about personal philosophy. This is also the house of astrology, the ninth house is. So because the ninth house is activated for her, Mars again would be activated, and also her second house in Aries would be activated. Now, she does have Uranus in that house in her chart, that the house that's activated. So this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction for her is going to be very active. And that's in her third house of business, right? So let's take a look right here. So you have, this is the house that's activated. Mars is part of that, but she also has Uranus here. So Uranus is also going to be activated for her this year. So down here, when that Uranus gets conjunct with Jupiter on the 20th at 21 degrees Taurus, that's an active thing for her. There it is. That's an active thing for her. And then when you have everything happening with Uranus conjunct Neptune, and when Jupiter goes, when the sun goes over Uranus, all of those things will be activating, and that will be in her third house. Now, those being that it's the sun, being that's Jupiter, Jupiter is a beneficial planet, and Uranus all being there, Uranus is the unexpected. So it can be surprise things happening with her business that she wasn't expecting. And they should be beneficial things, really, because it's all about Jupiter being in that area, and Jupiter is benefic. She was born, I believe, during the day. Yes, she was born during the day. So then the Jupiter is the most helpful planet for her in her chart. So those are the things in the chart that are most effective. And then she'll have the same thing happening that Liz did with, she can use Mars for setting up that energy of her own personal life, because this is her first house. So she can set whatever she wants as personal goals for herself. And then it's going to be moving into the second house. She could also be setting any financial goals that she wants for herself at that time. So again, this can also work out for someone that's doing a small business, especially if she does anything with astrology. The occult also is in the eighth house, but there's a lot with higher connections that could be in this house as well as this being a Pisces significant area of her chart. So
Beautiful. That's great.
it's taking a look at that each individual person's chart and how it works differently with them. So
You
your
explained
10th
that so
house,
well.
well, yeah, yours is like the 10th and the second, which is your money house. So the 10th career, second money, and third house, small business, and then your everyday habits. So whether it's physical health for you or whether it's
Yeah,
um who you work with every day, clients that you may work with every day, all of those things.
all
So
of it.
these, yeah, all of it, all
It
of it.
really truly is all of it for me. And when when you touch base with me first today, I'm like, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm on my little gym thing.
And I was like, not surprised. I'm
I
not
know.
surprised.
And that is like, and also good advice. You're like, you really need to stay active and physical with all of this energy, you
Especially
know?
with Mars.
Yeah.
Especially,
So you really brought it down to, there goes my dog, the everyday 3D thing.
well,
Right. She's got a squeaky toy. I just didn't plan on this.
that's all right. I loved, mine got wore out because he was out playing. So I think that'll cover it for now because I know we're going to be covering some information when we do the spiritual view. So you'll see more of us then, and you'll see everybody else working on the spiritual view with us. So we will put information down below. And I really appreciate everybody joining with us and watching this video. So share and like if you can, and we will see you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you from me and Pippa. Love you. Bye, everybody. Sorry about that.